The intense studio lights of CNN's special town hall illuminated the scene as Judge Judy confronted Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. What started as a calm discussion on criminal justice reform was on the verge of exploding into the year's most thrilling and astonishing political confrontation. Judge Judy, renowned for her sharp wit and no-excuses attitude, had just heard a comment that sparked her fury. Though her famous gavel was absent, she pointed her finger directly at the young Democrat from Texas. "You have no clue what you're discussing." Judge Judy's words boomed across the studio, her face reddening with rage. "After 30 years on the bench, I have to hear this." But what happened next left everyone in the room speechless. Jasmine Crockett's response was so cool, so calculated, and so completely crushing that it not only quieted the iconic judge but also spread worldwide in hours, becoming an instant viral sensation. Before diving into this remarkable showdown, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you catch every one of these intense political highlights. Believe me, you won't want to miss the ending. The tension in that CNN studio was thick enough to cut with a knife. Two powerful women, separated by age and ideology, were heading straight toward a clash that would reshape America's view of judicial power and political courage. At 81, Judge Judy is far more than a television personality, she's an iconic figure in culture. For over 20 years, her show ruled daytime television, making her one of the highest-earning stars in TV history, with annual salaries once reaching $147 million. Her quick humor, decisive judgments, and signature lines like, "Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining," made her a familiar name in homes everywhere. But Judge Judy offers more than just amusement. She spent 25 years as a real judge in New York family court, handling thousands of cases before transitioning to TV. Her legacy is built on being strict yet equitable, slicing through nonsense and delivering justice with raw truthfulness. A figure who commands admiration. Still, at 81, doubts arise. Does her traditional approach still connect today? Her era emphasized rigid law and order, individual responsibility, and zero patience for justifications. She has always stood firm in battles, especially when sensing disrespect toward the judicial system she dedicated her career to defending. On the other side is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a 43-year-old former civil rights lawyer now serving Texas's 30th district. Crockett didn't inherit her position politically. She earned her seat in Congress through determination, legal skill, and unwavering commitment to fairness. Prior to her 2023 win, she established herself as a fierce criminal defense and civil rights attorney, unafraid of authority or intimidation. In the Texas State House, she drew notice for passionate speeches on voting rights, reforming criminal justice, and racial fairness. What sets Crockett apart in debates is her strong legal foundation. She knows how to build cases, present proof, and stay composed. She also represents a fresh generation of black women in Congress who won't be silenced by conventional power. This wasn't just an individual argument. It represented a clash between two approaches to justice in America. Judge Judy stands for the traditional side, strict on crime, emphasizing personal accountability, and preserving classic judicial authority. Jasmine Crockett reflects the emerging path, overhauling criminal justice, addressing embedded racism, and questioning outdated practices. The official subject was a simple CNN town hall on reforming criminal justice. Yet the true implications were much bigger. Which perspective on justice would resonate with Americans? Could the legendary Judge Judy maintain her dominance against a skilled lawyer-turned-politician? Or would Jasmine Crockett prove that newer leaders refuse to bow to long-established figures? With millions tuning in live and social platforms ready to spread every moment, both knew this could define their careers. Neither planned to back down. The event began normally. Host Anderson Cooper presented both respectfully, highlighting their backgrounds. Early questions on reform were handled professionally, each sharing their positions clearly. The shift occurred when Cooper brought up disparities in sentencing for drug offenses. Crockett, drawing from her experience defending many affected by the system, described how mandatory minimums unfairly hit black and brown communities hardest. "The evidence is undeniable," Crockett said, looking straight at the camera. "We operate a dual system where a young black man caught with some marijuana faces years behind bars, yet affluent white offenders get probation for much graver crimes." Judge Judy's gaze sharpened, her fingers tapping the table, a familiar cue to fans of her program. Still, Crockett pressed on, "We need to recognize that our justice system has roots in racism. Merely being harsh on crime doesn't equal justice." It sustains disparity. Pardon me, Judge Judy interrupted, her tone cutting like broken glass. Racist roots. Young lady, I've spent over 30 years in courtrooms. Justice is colorblind. It focuses on actions, not race. The room's energy seemed to drop sharply. Anderson Cooper fidgeted, aware of the growing conflict. But Judge Judy continued. I've ruled on individuals from all races, origins, and incomes. Commit a crime, accept the repercussions. That's accountability, not racism. Jasmine Crockett stayed calm, her lawyer's instincts kicking in. With all respect, Judge Sheindlin, the data paints another picture. On average, black defendants get sentences 19% longer than white ones for the same offenses. That's fact, not interpretation. Judge Judy's cheeks burned. In her view, reality came from courtroom observations, not studies. Statistics are twistable, Congresswoman. What I observed every day for 25 years were individuals choosing paths, right or wrong. Quit excusing illegal actions. I'm not excusing anything, Crockett answered, steady and resolute. I'm questioning why a black teen with marijuana gets 5 years, but a white college kid with cocaine receives community service. That's bias, not just choices. The audience whispered, some agreeing with Judge Judy's firm position, others siding with Crockett's push for change. Cooper tried to keep control as the women stared intensely, more like a courtroom battle than a discussion. Then Judge Judy went personal, a key mistake. You know your issue, she said, pointing at Crockett. Your age group blames everyone else. You fault the system rather than demanding responsibility. That's not justice. That's therapy. The belittling words, your generation, hung heavy. Crockett's face stayed neutral, but she sat up straighter, her training activating fully. Judge Judy kept going, sensing advantage. You've held office for what, a short time, and you claim deeper insight into justice than someone who's experienced it for decades. Cooper tried intervening, perhaps we should pause. But Judge Judy surged ahead. I've handled thousands of matters, issued thousands of rulings, protected communities while you were likely studying theory in law school from academics who'd never seen a true courtroom. Silence fell over the studio. Even the crew seemed frozen. Judge Judy had openly doubted Crockett's credentials, labeling her inexperienced and theoretical on national TV. Jasmine Crockett paused briefly, hands resting calmly. The quiet lingered. Viewers leaned forward. Cooper looked worried. Judge Judy leaned back, awaiting outrage or defense. She got neither. Instead, Crockett smiled, a subtle, confident smile that felt more threatening than yelling. Judge Sheindlin, she began, her tone so even it drew everyone in. May I pose a question to you, Judge? Judy, maybe sensing she'd gone too far but unwilling to yield, nodded for her to proceed. In your many years judging, did you ever wonder why specific communities showed up in your courtroom far more often? The query lingered like a challenge. Judge Judy's poise wavered a bit, but she replied firmly, because crime rates are higher in those areas. And that's when Crockett delivered her blow. Smile intact, she leaned in a touch, voice steady but loaded with the advantage she'd been given. Judge Sheindlin, respectfully, that response explains exactly why reform is essential. The statement hit precisely. Judge Judy's confident look started cracking as she saw the potential snare. You see, Crockett went on, her lawyer skills shining in structured reasoning, your words imply certain communities are naturally more prone to crime. But consider this, areas with more policing inevitably see more arrests. Consider that the minimum laws you supported were crafted to punish crack cocaine, prevalent in black areas, with penalties 100 times stricter than powder cocaine, more common in white ones. Judge Judy tried cutting in, hold on now, but Crockett lifted a hand with calm command, rooted in evidence. I'm not done, Your Honor. The respectful address highlighted her ease with protocol while asserting control. You raised my background. Allow me to share, I've defended people facing decades for drug charges while white equivalents got leniency. I've seen black youth sentenced to 15 years for armed robbery when white ones got 3 for the identical act. I've witnessed mothers in low-income areas lose kids to a framework treating addiction as criminality. In richer neighborhoods, it's viewed as a medical problem. Judge Judy's color deepened further, shifting from fury to visible unease. She sensed the audience turning, the tide changing. Crockett built relentlessly. You noted my brief time in Congress. Fair enough. Yet prior, I worked years as a public defender and rights lawyer. I've appeared in more courts, battled more fights, and seen more unfairness than many experience ever. She let that absorb, then struck precisely. Our key difference, Judge Sheindlin, is you presided over a bench determining outcomes. I appeared before benches advocating for fairness. You viewed accused as matters to handle. I viewed them as people whose futures a flawed system was ruining, one never meant to be equitable. Dead quiet filled the studio. Cooper seemed desperate to disappear. Yet Crockett kept dismantling Judge Judy's stance. And on those stats you called manipulable, here are undeniable ones. America has 5% of global population but 25% of inmates. Our incarceration outpaces dictatorships. Black people are jailed at 5 times white rates, even with comparable drug usage. Judge Judy attempted reply, voice softer, those are merely figures. No, Crockett cut in decisively. Those are people. Families broken. Neighborhoods ruined by approaches you deemed tough yet fair, without checking true equity. Then came the widely replayed instant. Jasmine Crockett eased back, tone turning from expert to deeply felt. You seek talk of responsibility. Judge Sheindlin, let's address it. You created a fortune from justice turned entertainment. You transformed real struggles into television spectacle. You earned millions scolding vulnerable folks who needed the fee to appear. Gasps rippled through the crowd. This transcended policy. And yet you presume to school me on fairness, you who made judicial processes into entertainment. You who gained from ridiculing suffering. Judge Judy's face paled from flushed to drained. For perhaps the first time in years, words failed her. But Crockett's final strike was the coldest. She stood gradually, holding gaze. Your Honor, she uttered, the honorific now edged with faint irony. You inquired about my issue. My issue isn't responsibility, it's duplicity. My issue isn't fairness. It's those profiting from unfairness while lecturing on duty. She paused, voice lowering to that compelling hush demanding focus. You forged a legacy on toughness. But toughness against the powerless isn't power, it's intimidation. And bullies don't scare me, regardless of fame. Absolute quiet gripped the studio. Judge Judy remained shocked, lips parted, silent. The star known for final words was utterly neutralized by a lawmaker who stayed composed, never shouted, yet thoroughly broke down each point. Cooper, seeking resolution, announced, time for a break. But the effect was permanent. As commercials hit, footage showed Judge Judy appearing reduced while Crockett collected papers with the poise of a victor in her greatest trial. Moments later, online platforms exploded. #Jasmine destroys Judy topped trends worldwide before the show finished. Segments of Crockett's poised takedown circulated uncontrollably fast. The top clip, I don't get intimidated by bullies, no matter how famous they are, hit 50 million views in a day, spawning endless memes. Jasmine Crockett just taught how to eviscerate without volume, one post read. Another, as an attorney, I've never witnessed such precise dissection. Live operation. Memes poured out, before and after shots of Judy's starting assurance against ending shock, titled, How It Began versus How It Finished. Edits paired her sharpest lines with intense soundtracks. Politics responded quickly. Left-leaning figures praised Crockett's display. Bernie Sanders tweeted, America needs voices like Jasmine Crockett explaining the urgent need for justice system overhaul. Even centrists noted her prowess. Joe Manchin commented, her poised, respectful counter under fire displays true statesmanship. Right-leaning commentators tried shielding Judge Judy, but viral momentum drowned them. Some, including Ben Shapiro, admitted, strongly oppose her views, but Crockett showed outstanding debating ability. Leading media rushed coverage. CNN dubbed it a lesson in composure amid assault. Washington Post titled, Jasmine Crockett prevails in debate by staying unruffled. New York Times examined emerging political warfare, legal expertise plus media smarts. Judge Judy's camp issued damage control, saying she honors diverse opinions and shared her experiential view. But the damage stuck. She trended first for defeat in a dispute, sparking talks on her image's longevity. Broader than politics, the event sparked talks on age shifts, racial equity, and reform debates. Scholar-activist Angela Davis noted, Crockett illustrated how emerging voices can confront rigid ideas with evidence, poise, and ethical strength. Law programs used excerpts for teaching persuasion. Talk shows mined it for laughs. SNL's parody sketch itself blew up online. Globally, networks like BBC analyzed the composed unraveling, intrigued by fame, governance, and fairness crossing paths. For Crockett, it cemented her as a Democrat standout, poised, smart, unshakable. For Judge Judy, it signaled an uncommon on-air loss, urging thoughts on her aggressive approach's relevance. In 2 days, Crockett's fundraising surged past $500,000 from inspired small contributions. Educators added the segment to government classes. Management courses applied it to bargaining sessions. The exchange bridged divides, praised for depth, restraint, or strategic mastery. In the end, this exceeded a mere viral battle. Crockett exemplified modern leadership, skill merged with serenity, ethics supported by data. In times of loud drama, she demonstrated the softest voice can resonate strongest, particularly when backed by truth, background, and firm assurance. Judge Judy thrived on having the final say. Yet that day, Jasmine Crockett revealed the deepest words often come quietly, coolly, and rooted in fact. A truth that echoed globally, deservedly. Remember to like and subscribe for more unforgettable political stories. The excitement never ends, and we're covering it fully. What was your take on Jasmine Crockett's comeback? Share in the comments.